May 20th, 2024. A lot has happened the past couple days, so let me get the most important things out of the way first. Dear Lord, I didn't realize just how much of a psychotic monster Jackson Firth is. It took me a couple tries, but yesterday, I finally squeezed my way into the void again. This time, Firth was waiting for me. "You wanted to speak to me?" he asked, a small smirk on his face. Shoot, I thought. Don't tell me he knows what I'm here for and why. I did. I wanted to ask a couple of questions about you. I feel it's only fair, considering Maury gave me so much info just on himself. Sure, it was ultimately about you, but I learned so much more about him as a result. Surely it's fair, I said, fighting to keep my voice from shaking the whole time. There was the longest silence in eternity as he seemed to really soak in all I'd said. Finally, he answered. "All right, you make a good point, sport. It is only fair, I suppose," he said. I now also had to fight breathing a sigh of relief too loud he changes his already ever-changing mind. "So shoot, kid. What's your questions?" "I'll give you 2, he said, holding up 2 fingers. Question 1. What's your story? I asked. Ooh, good start. I'll give you the good bits. Before joining World War I had been a simple boy, only 17. I had grown up in a very nice household. Loving mother, adoring father. What's not to love? I'll tell you what. Other people. You've heard the saying, hell is other people, right? He asked. I simply nodded. Well, for me, I can't begin to tell you how true that was for me. Does it excuse me for what I've done? Of course not. But every day is spent having everything you have. Within and without, stolen, beaten, starved, you tend to lash out. I'm not kidding when I say this was every single day. Well, until I finally fought back. On that day, I'd been walking down the same old street knowing the exact moment I'd get jumped. But my fuse was short, as it would be only having 1 meal a day for months on end. And sure enough, when they appeared, I snapped. Yanked out 2 of my pencils and jabbed them into each of their necks in a matter of seconds. There were 6 of them, and 1 of me. So, naturally, I felt empowered. I felt good. And from that day forward, if anyone messed with me, they died. No questions asked. Before I knew it, I was back to 3 meals a day. But then the war struck, and you've heard that bit from Moriarty. So, on to the last question, he finished, putting his hands behind his back and tilting his head. I decided to make this question simple, since it'd been nagging at me anyhow. You had no intention of giving me a week, did you? I saw your little bloody message all over my walls, I said. It had taken me hours upon hours to wash all of that out. Not fun. Suddenly, a wicked grin spread across his face. Oh, you're a smart one. No, I had no such intention. Which reminds me, you have a phone call, he said, before walking up to me and, for lack of a better phrase, punched me awake. I jolted up. Sure enough, my phone was ringing. I looked at the time. 8 a.m. I was going back to work tomorrow. Who on earth could be calling? I looked and saw it was my boss. Mr. Haddock? I picked up. Oh, I think we're past formal now. Tell me you're seeing this, he said, his voice almost monotone with what seemed like shock. Seeing what? I pressed. And then I heard what it sounded like outside. Sirens, and a lot of them. The diner! You don't live far, look out your window! He yelled back, so I did. Oh my gosh, I muttered. The diner was engulfed in flames. Smoke, blacker than black, bellowing above the fire, and from all the way at my house, you could hear screaming. Screams of agony. But there was another sound, too. Laughing. Cackling. I decided I needed to get closer. I knew Firth did this. He threatened to start here, but part of me felt like that wasn't all he did. So I hopped in the car and decided to get closer. Not like in the diner parking lot, more like across the street. I arrived, parking across the street, and like so many times in this tale to begin with, couldn't believe what I was seeing. Darting, bouncing, destroying everything in sight this way and that. Was everyone inside. But they weren't human anymore. Attacking anyone and anything they could with superhuman strength and speed. When they would come across someone trying to get away from not just the blaze, but them as well, they would pounce on them and seem to breathe fire directly into their face until it was burnt to a crisp. From there, they'd take a few bites before, I guess, sucking out their soul. It looked like some Dementor stuff, so I can only assume that's what was happening. And then they'd get up and continue their rampage. I whispered before pulling out my phone and calling Mr. Haddock. "Anthony," he answered. "Yeah, I definitely see what you mean now. It's absolute anarchy out here," I said. "You went there?" he screamed in horrified bewilderment. "Yes, but I'm across the street and not much safer, but I had to get a closer look," I said. I knew before long Mr. Haddock was going to be roped into all this. I didn't know if I wanted that. On one hand, it's more help. On the other, he'd be playing with things he doesn't understand, just like I am. "That ain't much better, kid," he said. "Get back home." "Okay, I began. "Please, just call me Joe," he said. Joe Haddock. Nice name. I'd only ever known him as Mr. Haddock. "Okay, Joe, I'm on my way back now," I said before hanging up and speeding back home. And now, here I sit. It's almost midnight of the 21st. There's so much to think about. Surprised Maury hasn't yet called about this. Maybe he could provide some advice. Do I pull Joe into this, have the helping hand, and toss him into the unknown? I don't know. Anthony out. Thank you so much for listening to this narration. I hope you enjoyed. A quick thank you to my patrons, Rinku Starr, William Hartley, Cupcake Hips, Alonzo, IC Narrates, and Jesse Hartley. Again, thank you all so much for your support. If you've got any prayer requests, feel free to reach out to me on any social media, and I would love to know how I can be praying for you. And also, about each month, I link a different cause in the description to donate money to, people going through some tough surgeries or funds for victims of natural disasters, etc., etc. If you've got a little extra money to give to someone in need, I've got at least one link for you each month in the description. So that's there for you to do that if you feel that you can. Even if it means that you unsubscribe from my Patreon, that's absolutely wonderful. Much love, and thank you guys again for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.